Let me go to the defeat of the Assyrians.
Yeah.
First, who are the Assyrians and who were they fighting?
Well, the Assyrians were at the time, 700 BC, the most powerful, and we were talking about brutality. They were one of the most brutal empires ever in ancient history. And they had this war with the kingdom of Judah in the southern and northern kingdoms, and it was very important to them because the kingdom of Judah controlled this land bridge between the Assyrians and this other rising empire, the Egyptians. And they set out to destroy them.
And Judah, at the point, this is the southern part of Israel. Judah is a speed bump to the Assyrians. The Assyrians are the United States of America, and they're Yemen.
Yeah.
Judah is Yemen. It's a speed bump to make sure that they get to Egypt and crush that forming power of Egypt.
Yeah, and in fact, they had already crushed the northern kingdom and dispersed them, thus we have the lost 10 tribes that so many people know about. And they come into the kingdom and they destroyed all of the major cities, Lachish and others, and they had Jerusalem yet to go. And they laid siege upon Jerusalem, and at the time there was a prophet in the Old Testament who was advising the king, and he assured him that God would intervene and save them. And the Assyrians were pretty good historians, and they have depictions of this battle. And although they don't say why, there was a significant part of their army that was probably taken with the plague, is what they say, 180,000 of them in a matter of a few days. The Bible depicts it as they were destroyed by an angel of God. And, you know, there's different interpretations of all that,
Sure.
of course, if you want a literal or more religious interpretation. But the bottom line is that the Assyrians turned around and went back to Babylon.
So here they go. So the Assyrian king is, and you describe it so beautifully, the Assyrian king is like, you've got to be kidding me. I've destroyed everybody. They're going to stand against me? Some crazy man says that God's going to save them? I've killed all of them. Go and kill every man, woman, and child. Sends this enormous army. How big was the army of Judah?
Well, it was very, very small.
Because it was actually inside
within the
walls of Jerusalem,
which was
right.
You know, a few miles across at that point.
If you've ever been to Jerusalem, it ain't a big city. So they've got everybody in there. 180,000 come to destroy them. And mysteriously, and like you said, we don't know what happened, but they all get sick.
Yeah.
They get sick. And they're, you know, it could, I mean, you know, who knows, but they can't fight. They cannot fight.
And the tipping point was so important there, and that is this. Had the kingdom of Judah been destroyed, there would have been no seedbed for Christianity in which it could have been placed and could have thrived. And it was so important for Christianity, in order for us to develop Western values, Western civilization as we know it now.
You really understand in your book the importance of the Jewish culture and the importance of the Christian culture to the West. If it wasn't for those two cultures, freedom may not have been had yet.
They were both so important, and you know, we've looked back, and there wasn't one event where boing, this happened, and now freedom in the latter age is guaranteed. These were all very painful, they took place over a long period of time, and yet each of them was critical to development of this freedom.
So here's the answer to your question. I think we are at a tipping point, and I think Israel is, if you look at it, forget about all the religious stuff, forget about even humanity. Look what has happened to Jews. 1492, and before that, Assyrians. Look through history. Always somebody's trying to kill them and wipe them out. So let's forget about the promise that we all made to ourselves that we would never forget, never let it happen again. Let's just be selfish and say we like our televisions and we like our cars and our way of life. If you pull Israel out of the Middle East, you're a military man. You pull that out of the Middle East at this point. What happens to the Middle East and the rest of the world?
Well, and it's a game changer, isn't it? It's so important for us to defend our ally and the only democracy in that part of the world.
And our troops, quite honestly, if you look at the map now and you see what's happening to us, our troops are surrounded. Our troops are now surrounded. And we are a wobbling country and force in the world. Everybody who's been trying to topple us forever has got to be licking their chops right now going, we could push them over. If you pull Israel out and America can't stand with it, well, then that emboldens everybody around the world in saying, my gosh, the era is over, and the tipping point. Back with Chris Stewart, the author of 7 Tipping Points That Saved the World. I can't recommend this book highly enough to you, especially because of the ending, which I want to highlight just a little bit of. But first, let me go to Rex.
We're so aware, thanks to shows like yours and great books like this, of so many things that are going on. Were these people aware back then of the tipping points, that they were in such a point in history?
You know, it's hard for us to project why they did what they did. I think in some cases they probably didn't view it as a tipping point. They were simply fighting to survive. They were fighting to continue with their culture or their people. But there were other times when I think they did view this was, as we have written up there, a line in the sand. And I think that the battle in France against the Islamic invasion is an example of that. There wasn't entirely just the idea that we need to stop this invasion so we can protect our homes. I think they viewed that as a clash between the cultures there, and they wanted to preserve Christianity.
Can you make the point that you made, you make at the end of the book? Because I have to tell you, I brought it into work and I gave it to somebody and I said, oh, I just want you to read this. I just want you to read these 5 pages. The end of the book is, we have a choice. Freedom is fragile, and you have to choose.
Yeah. You know, it's fragile. As we've talked about, it's rare and it's precious, and it's not assured. We have to be willing to take the stand, to stand up as they have throughout history, to pay the price and to be engaged in the fight in order to assure. I think most of us look at our children or grandchildren. I had my first grandchild a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And
Grandpa.
Grandpa. And it took me a while to get used to that. I look at what and imagine what his life is going to be, and most of us think, well, he's going to grow up like I did, in the security of living in a free land and knowing that it will always be that way.
Hold on. How many people here believe that our grandchildren will live like we do? Look at that. How many people, if I would have asked you that 5 to 8 years ago, would have said yes? Yeah. Look at that.
And I'm grateful that people recognize that, because if we just assume that it will always be this way, then we don't hear the call to arms that we need to stand up and be willing to protect it.
Okay. I want you to pick this book up and read it, because it will change your perspective, and it will do so in a way that, I mean, my eyes were truly, truly opened on how you think you know how bad it could be? No. You don't know how good you have it, even the worst of us. You don't know how good you have it until you've read history